All right, we are live. As always, for educational purposes only, not financial advice. I just put out my video to my paid subscribers, touching on those very important levels that we've been watching. And we've got a major game plan for what is happening currently right now at this moment. This is on my left screen. I've got my daily pivots. So these populate every day. I get a new fresh set at 5 p.m. Central when the futures open. These are my 4-hour pivots. So I get a new set every 4 hours. And for my scalpers, my quicker traders, this is what I will show you. And if you purchase this indicator from me, you get all the levels: monthly, weekly, daily, 4-hour, quarterly, yearly, and you can just flip a toggle switch and produce any of those pivots you want and go back and study, which is what I always recommend. But we have a massive level that we've been watching in the NQ, and we are above that now and using that to our advantage. This 4-hour pivot has played beautifully today, as you can see, and I'll zoom in just a little bit so it's a little tighter on your screen. Pre-market bump right over the pivot. We go up on the CPI news, and then we have the bleed off at 8:30. Where does it find support? S1, perfect, right? That's your buying opportunity if you're a scalper. 29,826. This has been support all day, and we are pushing higher. So don't fight the levels. Use them to your advantage. What you want to see now is this 29,625 get challenged and see if we can push through that level or not. If you're long here, your pivot is target. So from 29,826 for the people that already have my indicator in our scalpers, here's your first target at 29,920. So about 100 points there of easy S or NQ points, if there is such a thing, but we make it as easy as possible. We've also been watching SMH on our larger pivots. It's doing what it needs to do to drive the market higher. And a big part of that is like MU is doing what it needs to do, up 6.5% today. I haven't looked at AMD yet. It's up almost 3%. So you can see the levels have played really well on these tickers also. And that's what you're looking for to put money in your pocket and not give it to the Wall Street guys. Same thing for NVIDIA. It's having a good day, up almost 3%. We are starting to get into upper targets on the 4-hour. So we have new pivots coming in about 9 minutes. So if I talk long enough, we'll see those new pivots generate. But for a scalper, this is what you want, especially I use them primarily on the indices. As you can see, the daily pivot held perfect on the S&P, the ES, 77.56. Now we're trading 77.75. So 20-point bump there that was very seamless from the pivot. Remember, they're always, once we break them, they're support until proven otherwise. We broke above that pivot on the daily, had the pre-market ramp. Where does it find support? Exactly at the pivot. Now it is pushing higher, which is what we want to see. The NQ is going to be the driver of that. Okay. So that's why I reference SMH so much, semiconductor chips. That's going to be the ones that need to pull to do the heavy lifting to drive the S&P. The Dow is being kind of lazy today. So the S&P kind of gets stuck between the Dow and the NASDAQ. And you don't want to, you want to be able to understand that. So when you have these opportunities, you can use them and know where the money's flowing. SMH right now is where the money is going. SMH is up $14, which is 2.5%. That's a good move. That's what's helping the NASDAQ. Okay. If it can get over 590 on the day, which is another $3, that's a huge move. That would be retesting that pre-market high and trying to spread its wings and fly. Don't know that it will, but we've already played our levels on the bigger time frame, so it doesn't really matter to me. From here, I've already got stops set on my larger time frame. I'm looking for targets that are higher because we are above the weekly pivot, and we have also broken above the S1 monthly pivot. So the R1, which is the first resistance. We broke both of those. So from here, will look higher. And sorry, I'm just getting a note here and I'm going to respond to that really quick and let everybody know. Okay. If you want this indicator, just message me on Substack. I've had several that are after me for it, and I set up times for you to go one-on-one. We'll set it up on your computer. I can set up this exact screen. It comes with my momentum candles as well, which I don't like the red over here on a 2-minute on the SMH, but hopefully that'll get changed here quickly because a 2-minute red candle is not optimal. But if it'll swing back and hold and get back to gray, then green, that's a great look for SMH, which I said is going to be leading the market higher, because we go look at the Mag 7, Magnificent 7, look at them. They've had a bad day, right? 67.70, which Mag 7, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, NVIDIA, and Meta. I don't know if I missed one or not, but those are the names. So when we go look at them, they've had a rougher day, right? You've got MU, AMD, NVIDIA, which is part of the Mag 7, but you have those semiconductor chips that are higher. And you have the Mag 7, which has had lower days, lower, right? We're below big areas. So I've been saying this for a while, and I don't know that it will happen. If you ever got the Mag 7, okay, like I said, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Tesla, NVIDIA, that's your 7. If you ever get them to run and semiconductor chips, so your SMH names, which NVIDIA is the biggest name there, so those two crossover, but AMD, Taiwan Semiconductor, A-Lab, MU, if all those names would run on the same day, that's when you're starting to talk about ES going to new all-time highs up towards that 8,000, where everybody's projecting it. Until that happens, it's just kind of lazy. Like, you're going to have some bumps, but as you can tell, the S&P kind of gets stuck. And you can see right now on NQ, we're bumping into pivot. We can't get above pivot. So if you were long here, that's why I said this is your target. We will have new targets here in just a few minutes that I will stay and talk until we get. But we look at Tesla, like I said, all the Mag 7 names are having a bad day, okay? That is kind of holding the NASDAQ from running exponentially higher. Like I said, with the NASDAQ up that much, used to 3 years ago, 2 years ago even, if the Mag 7 was having that bad of a day, the NASDAQ would be right with it. It would be down 2% like Microsoft. It would be down, yeah, well, that's 1% on Apple. That's 1% on Amazon. Tesla's down 1.7. How far is Google down? It's barely down. So Google, that gives you a sign that Google is one of the stronger names in this arena right now, because it's not down as much, only down 0.25%. What's the other one? Meta, do I have it? I do. Meta is one of the weaker ones at 2. So the NASDAQ would probably be down 1.5% to 2%. Typically, used to 2 years ago, Mag 7's all that mattered. Now all that matters is AI, okay? So the build out, the memory names, the chip makers, all that stuff, that's what matters to this market. Nothing else, okay? So that's why I've been screaming about SMH for a while. Hey, if you want to know what the market is truly going to do, watch SMH, because it's up 2.6%, and the Q is trying to hold on up 1% because the Mag 7 is dragging on it. So put that in your brain, know it, understand it. Hey, what are these AI names? What are the memory names? What are the chip builder names? What matters to this market, okay? So that is something that I focus on very regularly and bring to my subscribers and say, hey, this is what we're watching. This is why. We can stand outside the car and look at it, but we got to know what's under the hood. The QQQ is the car. The NQ is the car. The ES is the car. Well, what's driving this thing? Like, what's powering it? Okay, let's pop the hood and take a look. SMH is a big part of that right now. So keep all that in mind. If you're a Dow trader, it's a little weaker today, only up 0.06%. It did have a good buy off of the S1 or S2 support 2. That's all it stands for. S2 is support 2. Okay. It had a good buy there on your 4 hour. That was about 70, 80 points ago. It ran as much as 100 first target. So keep that in mind. Any gold traders out there? Any gold scalpers? Let's look. CPI comes in line. All of a sudden, gold's not important after the yen intervention. Gold ran, and now we are having a sell-off. So the market is ebbing and flowing very quickly right now, okay? Because it's very sensitive to the fact that there's only really one thing that's driving the market, which is AI build out. Okay, so whatever sector of the AI build out you like and know, for me it's SMH. Maybe for you, is it? Let me see if I can call this off the top of my head. DRAM, which is a memory ETF. It's looking decent. Okay, let me see what is in DRAM exactly, and we will break those names down because that is another part of it. That is a big part of this. So in DRAM, let's see the top names. I'll run through them. I think that SanDisk is going to be one of them for sure. And we will see what other names are in there if my internet will populate it. The VIX has also been a big watch of ours. We knew the pivot on the weekly where it was and the monthly. And I said, hey, if it doesn't get above that weekly and monthly pivot, there's no reason to think there's downside coming to this market. And it didn't. All it's done is broke lower and lower and lower. Okay. If this finds traction and starts heading up, then it will be a different story. Okay. So on DRAM, yeah, SanDisk is in there. Let me see. Give me top 10 weighted. And I know this seems like, especially if you're a new trader, you're like, what's this guy talking about? Well, I'm teaching you. If I'd have cut my teeth like this way earlier, it's a lot easier to make money in the market. Okay. And that's what I am trying to do for you, because I want to teach you to trade. I don't want to tell you like, hey, this is the trade you have to take. I want you to understand why you are trading something and how to use it. I know a lot of people that rely on trades. Okay, there's two problems with that. One, if you're not convicted in the trade and understand the trade, you're just taking it because whoever did. Not a big advantage. Okay, you will beat yourself up and you will jump and do things that do not make sense. You'll jump out because you're like, oh, it's going down or it's going up. It will affect your mentality on how you trade. So that's number one. Number two, something happens to that trader. They quit putting out trades. They quit doing whatever, for whatever reason, right? They quit posting trades. Now what? Now we're back to square one. That's why I sell this indicator and I educate every day. Every day, hey, this is how we use it and this is why. And the people that have it are fascinated with how accurate and how much it's changed their trading mentality. And I think that is a big thing to help. So you can trade it yourself. You can make really good trades, especially off of my larger levels. It makes it way, way easier. Yeah, so Micron is the biggest in DRAM, which is memory. STX is a big one. Western Digital's a big one. And then SanDisk is a big one. I know that SanDisk had a lot of volatility. Let's look at it. This isn't something I trade. I just know it's a market driver. Yeah, up 7% today. Okay. That's why the NASDAQ is having a good day. These are the names that are propelling the NASDAQ. Let's look at Western Digital. It's up 4.5%. So like I said, if you've been trading for 2 or 3 years, you know, hey, the Mag 7 was everything. If the Mag 7 was green, the NASDAQ was green. If the Mag 7 was red, the NASDAQ was red, period. No two other ways about it. That has shifted, and you have to know those shifts or you will be left behind. And right now, these are the names that really, really matter to the market. Another one is STX, which is Seagate. It's up 7%. The names that are driving the market. Okay. I know I just want to pound that home because it is something that is relevant. Let's talk about oil for a minute, and let me pull this chart up on my phone and tell you something. And if you don't know what dark pool prints are, look into it. It's not anything to me that was ever real life-changing in my trading. Okay. So it was relevant to know that something happened at that level. So this is the largest trade on USO since inception, and they call them dark pool prints because they actually do them off the tape. You can pay and get that data, but they don't want to give up whether it's a buy or a sell. So they just show you that a transaction happened, and that way you can be aware of that situation and mark that on your chart. I used to follow those a little closer. Hold on one second. That's my little boy checking on me. He's 2. USO, which is the oil ETF for the United States oil, is basically what it is. It had 3.5 million shares at 127.44 for $446 million. There was a transaction there. So if we go to USO here, we know that at 127.44 is the biggest trade that has ever taken place on USO. It's the largest trade since 2007. Used to 2007 was the largest trade that happened on USO. Now it is, yesterday is the largest transaction ever recorded on USO at 127.44. So what I will do, just to keep it in mind, okay, I'm going to create an alert on my toss here. And that way, if we get to that or above it, I know, because whoever took that transaction is probably going to, and I put it 1 penny higher, that's okay, is probably going to defend that level or sell that level based on what is going on. Right now, we are below that level. We're trading 126.80. Dark pool prints are where big money flows that are off of the tape. Me and you, we can see the tape. Okay, retail traders, these dark pool prints take place. They get worked out between brokerage houses, and they take place off the tape, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, because they don't want everybody to know whether they are buying or selling. Now, couple of points to that. For every buy, doesn't there have to be a seller? And for every seller, doesn't there have to be a buyer? Okay. So that's one way to view dark pool prints. And dark pool prints, like I said, it would floor you the money that is transacted on dark pool prints. If I want to buy $1 billion worth of Apple, I work that out with the brokerage houses and get that done behind closed doors, because that's a massive order. If I'm buying 1,000 shares of Apple, I got to click a button and do it. Okay. Way different. That's how they handle this. So the other part of that transaction is, for me personally, is if they are selling it, why? Okay. And maybe a brokerage house is taking that on loan because they have the liquidity to cover the shares, and they need the shares for other positions that they have. And somebody's selling USO and saying, I'm getting out of oil. Well, for me, it's either one of 2 reasons. Iran's over and oil's going to flow like water. And if you haven't seen the videos of the oil on the Iran beaches from the tankers being hit, you should check that out. Okay, so that's one. Iran's over and oil is not going to be an issue. Very possible. 2, we're heading into a time of a recessionary period, and things are going to have a downturn, and oil is going to be not relevant because of that. That could be possible too. On the flip side of that coin, they are buying it because Iran is getting ready to kick off in a big way. And we're going to have a massive oil shortage, and those things are going to be a problem. So those are things you have to cipher as a trader. and figure out in your mind, like, hey, I know this 127.44 on USO is a major level. I'm just going to keep an eye on it just for curiosity. Is it a sell and they just sell it from here and oil heads down? Possible. Is it a buy and they get on top of it and rip? Possible. But I know that a massive order was filled and transacted right there. So to me, that is something that I want to pay attention to, just to know if we're above it and oil's going up, that's going to put pressure on the market, right? Oil going higher is not a positive for any part of the stock market, because that's inflation problems, which is Fed rate problems, which is money problems, which is market problems. Okay, that's how that snowball works. If it's heading south, that's going to be good for the market. That means that, hey, inflation's not going to be a problem. Fed rates are not going to be a problem. And that means cheap money for this AI build out. Okay, great. So those are two things that you look at on oil. The VIX, like I said, we've been watching that volatility index. Learn it. If you don't know it, keep an eye on it. And it will tell you, especially on my monthly, this is just my daily, and this is my 4 hour for my scalpers. My monthly and my weekly, I've already put that video out to my paid subscribers. We know our levels. We had a level higher on VIX that we knew. As long as the VIX stays below that, there's no reason to think this market is selling off in a meaningful way. We knew that from the beginning of the month. And it has proven very, very profitable because the VIX is just heading south. Okay. It stayed below that monthly pivot, the weekly pivot. The VIX has not been an issue. The lower the VIX goes, the better for the market. I think that I've covered everything. We've got these new 4 hour pivots that just populated on my screen. So let me flip back over to the NASDAQ and let's see how we're looking on that 4 hour pivot. Okay. So 906 is your new pivot. Like I said, this morning it played perfectly with the CPI pre-market to R1. That's your resistance one. Hit it perfect. Bled all the way down to support at S1. Above the pivot, you are bullish. Below the pivot, you are bearish. And right now we are sitting on top of that pivot. I don't think I can make it any easier or any simpler way to trade it. And that's what I've spent several years developing and figuring out was the simplest way to trade it, to where I know where I'm right or wrong really fast. And I know when to take profit on either side of the market. And we know, like I said, we've covered it repeatedly. We know what's driving the market, what names are driving the market. The Mag 7 is somewhat irrelevant. I'll never say it's irrelevant, but now we know that the SMH of the world, which is the semiconductor ETF, the DRAM of the world, which is a memory ETF, those are the names that matter to this market right now. So learn that and understand it. If you do not know what the top 10 weighted stocks in the NASDAQ and the S&P and the Dow are, learn that. Just Google it. What are the top 10 weighted stocks in each index? And it will show you. And those are the names that really matter to the index. But right now, some of those lighter weight names are the ones that are really driving the market. Of course, if Apple crashes and Microsoft crashes, the NQ is not going to be able to do anything about it except crash with it. But right today, perfect example. MU is up 6.8%. Okay. Right off of S1 here, all the way up through. Okay. You can't get any better than that. If you were buying it at 877 on our daily pivots, and right now you are trading at 927, that's a great trade. So that's what's driving the market. What's not having a great day? Well, Apple's down, Microsoft's down, all the Mag 7 are down. And you can really kind of reference that through, like I said, Mags ETF, which is the Mag 7, having a crappy day. It's down almost 1%. So as a whole, you put all those in a basket: Apple, Microsoft, all your Mag 7, Meta, Amazon, Tesla, Google. You put all those in a basket. This is your picture, down 0.9% for the day. Okay, Mags, MAGS is the ticker symbol. The other one you can watch is the technology sector, XLK. It's having a decent day. These are what matter. So don't trade blind. use the levels. Like I said, I put out my paid video right before this to the people that have my indicator or that are paying to see my weekly and monthly levels. Those levels have guided every move we've made this month. And it's been simple. For my scalpers, here's your scalps. This is what you use. If you're a fast trader and you trade day to day, right here. Pivot holds 657 overnight, runs all the way to first target on the daily. Last 4 hours, perfect on the NQ. Spike, bleed, catch, back. The ES did about the exact same thing. Here, once it held daily pivot with green candles, you get the green and gray red candles, the momentum candles with my indicator. Once it held, it runs higher. Where does it run into resistance? R1, resistance 1. We know that when we start getting to these are targets. Where does it find support? S2, also the daily pivot right here. They line up. Perfect, 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 perfect. If you bought 77.56, you're trading about 20 points higher. And that was an easy day of trading. Make your money, leave the casino. And I say that out loud to hear myself, to tell myself, I'm profitable today. I've got some stops in on some runners off of our monthly levels. I'm not going to try to skim anymore. I've already made money. I have runners that are working. I'm going to leave the casino because if not, you just end up giving it back is what typically happens. And I've learned that from experience. I've heard other experienced traders talk about it, and it is a real thing. So if you sit there all day and wear yourself out, if you're patient enough to do that, it's okay. And what I mean by patient enough, you can wait for levels to interact before you make decisions. 4-hour pivot, just populated a new one. If you're a scalper, look at it. Here's your levels. Daily pivot, here's your levels. Use the two to make good trades because like here, well, why is it catching support right here? If I'm just watching the daily, that's why I run a split screen, and I have typically I have my monthly over here and my weekly, but right now I've got my daily and my 4-hour pivots. Well, why does it catch support right here? Well, on my 4-hour, that's S1. That's a perfect buying opportunity. So run a split screen. I will help you. If you're interested, message me on the Substack, and I will link with you one-on-one. I already have some other appointments set up and get you these indicators as fast as you're available, because I know that once you're ready to go, you're ready to go. There's a link in my Substack pinned at the top of my page to purchase it through Substack. And then that notifies me that you're ready to get going. So if I can help you, if you're using my levels and you're having issues or you're not understanding, just send me a message. We'll talk all about it until I'm blue in the face. Cause I'm just like that, I guess. All right. As always, we will talk soon.